The Young and the Restless spoilers shock a dark turn in Genoa City. The bustling streets of Genoa City were alive with the chatter and commotion of a warm summer afternoon. The community's peaceful rhythm was suddenly shattered when Jordan, with her characteristic audacity, stepped boldly into the crowd, her sharp eyes locked onto her unsuspecting target, Sharon Newman. Sharon, unaware of the danger lurking just behind her, was busy chatting with a few acquaintances at the local market. Jordan's movements were smooth, deliberate, and calculated. She had been planning this moment for weeks, and now, it was time to execute her chilling plan. The kidnapping without hesitation, Jordan closed the distance between herself and Sharon. In her hand was a seemingly ordinary cloth, but it was soaked in a potent anesthetic. Her boldness was startling. She wasn't hiding in the shadows or waiting for an isolated moment. No, Jordan thrived on risk, and her lack of fear was terrifying. In a matter of seconds, Jordan moved with the speed and precision of a predator. She pressed the cloth firmly against Sharon's mouth and nose. Sharon's muffled scream barely escaped before the drug began to take effect. Her body struggled against the assault, but her strength quickly waned. Within moments, her legs gave out, and she collapsed into Jordan's arms, unconscious. The crowd was none the wiser, distracted by their own lives. Jordan, who had long mastered the art of blending in, swiftly hoisted Sharon's limp body and carried her to a waiting pickup truck parked in a nearby alley. She dumped Sharon unceremoniously into the back seat, her face devoid of remorse or hesitation. Slamming the door shut, she climbed into the driver's seat and sped away, the roar of the engine echoing ominously. Nick's suspicion meanwhile, Nick Newman was growing increasingly uneasy. Sharon hadn't answered his calls or responded to his texts, which was unlike her. At first, he dismissed it as a busy afternoon, but a nagging feeling in the pit of his stomach told him something was wrong. Unable to shake the growing sense of dread, Nick decided to check on her. Driving to the market where she had planned to spend her day, he arrived to find her car parked exactly where she'd left it. But there was no sign of Sharon. "Sharon," he called out, his voice tinged with concern as he looked around. The people nearby shrugged, none of them noticing anything unusual. Nick's chest tightened. His instincts screamed that something terrible had happened. He found himself staring at the ground near Sharon's car, his mind racing. No obvious clues, no signs of struggle, but the uneasy stillness in the air confirmed his fears. "Stay calm," he told himself. "Think this through." "The search begins." Nick wasted no time rallying the people closest to Sharon. Within an hour, a search party had been formed, and everyone divided up to comb through the city. Phyllis, Mariah, and Ray took the north side, while Nick, Billy, and Noah focused on the southern outskirts. As panic threatened to bubble to the surface, Nick forced himself to stay composed. If Sharon was in danger, he couldn't afford to let fear cloud his judgment. Every second mattered. Another disappearance. As the search for Sharon intensified, another chilling discovery sent shockwaves through Genoa City. Tessa Porter was missing too. Mariah's frantic voice echoed through the Newman ranch as she relayed the news to Nick and the others. "Tessa's gone," Mariah stammered, tears brimming in her eyes. "She didn't come home last night, and no one's seen her all day." The group fell silent, the weight of the situation sinking in. Two women, connected to the Newman family, had disappeared without a trace. Coincidence was out of the question. "It has to be connected," Nick muttered, his jaw clenched. "This isn't random." The mention of Tessa's disappearance added a new layer of urgency to the situation. While Mariah tried to keep her composure, her mind raced with horrifying possibilities. Why would someone take Sharon and Tessa? What did they want? The culprits revealed as the pieces slowly began to fall into place. A familiar name surfaced: Ian Ward. A notorious criminal and cult leader, Ian had a history of targeting the Newmans and those close to them. His twisted mind was capable of orchestrating something as elaborate and sinister as this. But Ian wasn't working alone. Jordan's involvement was a grim reminder of the lengths she was willing to go to achieve her own goals. Together, they were a dangerous duo, and their motives remained a terrifying mystery. Ian and Jordan had been planning this for months, watching Sharon and Tessa from the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. For them, this wasn't just about money or revenge, it was about power. Sharon and Tessa were pawns in a larger game, though the endgame was still unclear. The race against time. Back at Newman Enterprises, Victor Newman took control of the situation. He mobilized his resources, using his connections to gather information and track down leads. "We don't wait for the police," he declared. "We handle this ourselves." As the search intensified, Nick and the others began uncovering small but significant clues: security footage showing Jordan's truck speeding out of town, a witness who claimed to have seen a distressed woman in the passenger seat, and a cryptic message left on Tessa's voicemail, "Don't fight it." The tension in Genoa City was palpable. Every moment felt like an eternity, and the lives of two women hung in the balance. This is the opening portion of the story, setting the stage for a suspenseful and emotional journey. If you'd like, I can continue to expand on the aftermath, the emotional toll on the characters, and the eventual resolution of this dramatic conflict. Let me know. The nightmare begins. Sharon Newman's world was a blur of pain and confusion as she drifted back to consciousness. Her head throbbed from the effects of the drug, and the realization of her predicament hit her like a freight train. She couldn't see, her eyes were covered by a thick blindfold, and her wrists and ankles were tightly bound. The rough texture of the rope bit into her skin every time she moved. The hum of the truck's engine vibrated through her body as it sped down an unknown road. Sharon screamed, her voice raw and desperate, but the gag in her mouth muffled her cries. Tears streamed down her face, soaking into the fabric tied around her head. She strained against the bindings, but they held firm, leaving her helpless. Fear clawed at her chest. She thought of her children, of Nick, of all the people she loved. Was this the end? Would she ever see them again? The questions tore through her mind as panic threatened to overwhelm her. Why me, she thought, choking on her own sobs. Who would do this? What do they want? Nick's determination. Back in Genoa City, Nick Newman was a man on a mission. His worst fears had been confirmed: Sharon was in danger. He knew her disappearance wasn't random. This was planned, calculated, and personal. Nick gathered his closest allies at Crimson Lights. Ray, Mariah, Noah, and Phyllis joined him, each one determined to find Sharon at any cost. Ray, drawing on his years of experience as a detective, proposed a methodical approach. "The first step," Ray said firmly, "is to check every security camera in town. Whoever did this had to move fast and stay under the radar, but they couldn't be invisible. We'll find them." Nick nodded, his jaw tight with resolve. "We'll split up. I'll handle the main square and the parking lots. Mariah, you and Noah check the east side. Ray, you've got the north." The group moved swiftly, each person driven by their shared determination to bring Sharon home. The hunt begins hours later. Nick sat in the security room of Genoa City's town hall, staring at grainy footage from the cameras. His eyes scanned each frame with laser focus, searching for anything that could lead him to Sharon. Then, he saw it. The footage showed a figure, a woman, emerging from the alley near the market. She was wearing a baseball cap pulled low over her face, a mask, and large sunglasses. In her arms was Sharon's unconscious body, her head lolling lifelessly against the woman's shoulder. Nick clenched his fists as he watched the woman shove Sharon into the back of a pickup truck and speed away. The truck's license plate was obscured, but Nick memorized every detail of its appearance: dark blue, slightly rusted, with a dented bumper. "That's her," Nick muttered. "That's the kidnapper." Ray, standing behind him, leaned in closer. "She's clever, disguised, no visible face. But we can still work with this. Let's enhance the footage and get a better look at the truck." Nick's mind raced as he tried to piece together the puzzle. Who was this woman? And why would she target Sharon? Sharon's ordeal. Meanwhile, Sharon was trapped in a living nightmare. The truck jostled her roughly with every bump in the road, and the blindfold only heightened her sense of disorientation. She tried to scream again, but the gag muffled her cries. She kicked her bound legs against the door in a desperate attempt to make noise, but the truck's loud engine drowned out her efforts. Jordan, sitting in the driver's seat, glanced in the rearview mirror. The mask and glasses she wore concealed her identity, but her cold, calculating expression would have been unmistakable to anyone who knew her. "Save your energy, Sharon," Jordan said mockingly. "No one's coming for you." Sharon's heart sank at the sound of Jordan's voice. It was unfamiliar, cold and detached. Whoever this woman was, she didn't seem afraid or remorseful. Sharon's mind raced with questions. Was she acting alone? Or was she working for someone? The thought of Ian Ward sent a chill down her spine. "I have to stay calm," Sharon told herself. "If I panic, I'll lose my chance to escape." She focused on the rhythm of the truck, counting the seconds between turns and listening for any clue about their location. The faint sound of water nearby suggested they were heading out of town, possibly toward the river. Nick connects the dots. Back at town hall, Nick and Ray continued their investigation. With the footage enhanced, they were able to identify a distinctive logo on the side of the pickup truck, a faded decal from an old towing company. "Got it," Ray said, pulling up the company's records. "They went out of business 5 years ago, but their trucks were auctioned off. Let me cross-reference the buyer list." Nick's phone buzzed with a message from Mariah. "We found something," it read. Tessa's phone pinged near the old warehouse district on the outskirts of town. "We're heading there now." Nick's heart raced as he read the message. Could Sharon and Tessa be in the same place? Was this where Jordan had taken them? "Let's move," Nick said to Ray. "We've got a lead." This is the second part of the story, continuing to build suspense and tension as the search for Sharon intensifies. If you'd like, I can expand further with a dramatic confrontation, rescue mission, or deeper character dynamics. Let me know.